So let's bring Salim on. Salim, are you there?
I'm here.
Are you in Toronto?
I'm in Toronto.
You are in Toronto. You're getting the
Yeah,
Toronto accent, aren't you?
my Canadian passport is like my precious right now. I'm holding it very tight.
So how's Canada doing when it comes to this whole quarantine thing?
Yeah, we were just talking about this. They actually did a pretty good job early of slamming the border shut and checking every person that came in and tracking. They literally had public announcements saying if you were on this bus and this route at 6 o'clock in the front half of the bus, call us because somebody had corona near you. And so they tracked everybody incredibly. And so it's a little bit more lower shape of a curve.
Are you acting a little hyper cautious to where you're wearing a mask, you're wearing gloves, are you doing that?
We're being pretty cautious. The easiest way is not to get within 6 feet of anybody, which is easy. It's much easier here. Even though we're in downtown Toronto, it's pretty simple. And so we wear a mask if we go to the grocery store. By the way, there's a video by Jeremy Howard that just puts out a perfect way of making a homemade mask, which is a t-shirt with a paper towel in the middle of the two. If you just wear that, it blocks everything out. So there's a homemade easy mask that nails it.
I'm getting chastised because I have all my masks from Burning Man that are actually N95 masks that I have sitting around, and I wear them and I get chastised saying medical people should have those. They're like 4 years old. And they still have the dust on them. No, I'm kidding. So Salim, help us understand real quick the word exponential. I mean, I know Peter throws it around all the time. You were really the one that kind of crystallized this for us. Explain what exponential means to you.
Yeah, so I mean, many of you have heard Peter speak, and we talk about taking 30 steps linearly gets you to the end of the garden, 30 steps exponentially gets you 1 billion meters, which is 26 times around the world, which is pretty nuts. And a lot of the companies today that are super successful are exponential organizations. And so we would run these 1-week programs at Singularity University, where I'm the founding CEO. And at the end of the week, we'd get this question, this is great, what the hell do I do on Monday? And I wrote the book Exponential Organizations as a kind of an answer to that question on how do you build an organization that scales in the same speed as technology scales. And the book's gone kind of nuts, and it's kind of dominated my world for the last 5 years. In fact, if it stays on track, sometime next year, we'll crack into the top 10 best-selling business books ever list, which is like, wow, which is nuts. Yeah, so things have been going pretty nuts, and I've been my publisher is super happy. My wife is less happy because I've been traveling like a lunatic. But I think what we're in the terms of the exponential, we're living it today. The COVID expansion is an exponential doubling pattern, and we're tracking, is it doubling every 3 days or what? And this is a bad way for the world to learn about exponential, but it's absolutely critical that people understand that distinction. And Ken, if you mentioned that you saw the fact that conferences are going to get canceled early, right? And that's after having gone through the training, because when you can spot a doubling pattern, you know once it starts, it's not stopping, and it's just going to keep going. And if you ride that out, it's freaky.
Here's my concern is like this, it's really difficult to get people to participate or feel like they're participating, because I see all the chat happening. People have questions for you, and having 200-300 people in this webinar, this Zoom call, just getting to one of them is difficult because they're scrolling like crazy.
Yeah.
How do you do an event to where people feel like they're participating and the event is actually curating all the information properly at the same time?
Yeah, I think what will happen is we'll find ways of filtering that down. This is a good problem to have, because if there's a lot of noise, we can use lots of tools like AI and social constructs. One of the platforms we're about to use for this event that I'm doing is it randomly matches people up for 3-minute little networking conversations.
That's what we did.
Randomly, right? So you're doing little breakouts, which is fantastic, but if you do the randomized thing, it makes people feel part of it. I think there's a lot of market right now for tools like that. We're going to have to figure out how to navigate this information signal to noise problem in the virtual sense very, very quickly.
Okay. Are we discussing stuff, or do you have something you want to show us?
I just have a website I wanted to show people.
show us the website because you have this event
Okay,
coming
the
up.
website is exoworld.live. Let me get to it here. And what it is a, a, a conference we're launching. Let me get to where the hell am I? A conference we're launching in 10 days or 9 days. Let me go to my Chrome and share. So basically what we decided to do was, can you guys see my screen?
Yep.
Okay, what we decided to do was basically say, everybody's stuck at home. Nobody's gonna be traveling for a while. And we don't think of this as a recovery V-shaped or Nike-shaped or anything. I literally think this is end times. I think this is a singularity. Nobody can, all the models that got us here break down at this event. We don't know what's gonna happen in the future. The smartest guy I know on the macroeconomic impacts thinks that instead of 85 trillion global GDP this year, we'll have 20 trillion.
All we see is white. Is there anything you want to show us?
Oh, sorry. Yeah, let me see what I can do here. Share again and go to here.
So we're all fumbling through this, right? We're all learning how to do this.
Yeah.
Okay, here's your website. So the 14th through the 16th. So this is a 2-day online or 3-day.
It's a 3-day event where we, Daniel Kraft, who all of you know very well, who's online, is in there. We're doing 3 days of a global conversation to transform the world. Basically, I'm of the view that the world is now at an inflection point that all the structures that made us work for the last few hundred years don't work going forward. And it's like a 3-stage rocket booster. The main stage gets you out of gravity and it's super powerful, but you need to release it and go to the next stage. And that's where we're kind of making that transition right now. And I don't think we go back to the old ways because as this virus kind of propagates through the fall, we now know that the warmer temperatures don't really slow it down. We have a huge issue on our hands globally. And we've connected ourselves economically, but we've not connected ourselves socially and politically, right? We're tribal beings. And so this is now going to force us to operate as a global human collective because the virus has no boundaries that way.
So what are you doing at this event that's unique, Salim?
What we're doing is we're getting together some of the world's top thinkers. Our Singularity folks, Peter's going to co-host parts of it with me, but we have Vicente Fox, the former president of Mexico, Mauricio Macri, the former president of Argentina, Maria Fernanda, who's the head of the UN, until recently the president of the UN, plus some leading thinkers on the tools that will allow us to do this transformation. So when we think about society, we break it into individuals, organizations, institutions, and geographies like people and countries. And we're going to talk through some of the tools that are available to us at each of those levels, and then kind of galvanize a global community to let's go just use those tools and start that work of transformation. Because if we don't transform now, the world is going to transform us. And
all right, so this is going to happen on the 14th through the 16th. It's costing what, $200, $300? How much is it?
It's $297. I think I can get a special price for you metal folks at a 50% off. We'll send around 50%. Yeah, so we're selling tickets for $147 to make it super accessible.
Okay.
We have a capacity of 100,000 people online.
What are you using? What's your platform? That's incredible.
We have a platform called Hopin, HOPIN.to.
And it allows it to be non-webinar environment. By the way, people have to understand, so we're using Zoom, and then you have Zoom webinar. The problem with webinars is you can't see who's in the room. You can't participate with them.
Yeah.
So you found a way to get around that?
This has a main stage and has breakout rooms. And so we'll have 3-hour high metabolism main stage capability.
I love it.
Plus breakout rooms for all the speakers. The granddaughter of Jacques Cousteau is coming to speak. A bunch of our Singularity folks are speaking. The CMOs of Starbucks, Nissan, Intuit, Nike are all participating in a panel.
And people have access to them. They'll have access.
They'll have access to them. So we're going to do a main stage and breakout sessions with all the people involved. And then this third day is, okay, what are we going to do if this is where the world is going? And now we have tool sets. Okay. Let's go do the work to transform.
So, hey, Salim,
I want to mention one key thing that we've done over the last 5 years that is, I think, kind of unique that your folks should hear. One of the biggest challenges to innovation is getting it implemented. When you try anything disruptive, the immune system attacks you. In a big organization or in academia has about the worst immune system ever. We've actually solved that problem. And so we have process frameworks that allow you to transform and break through that legacy immune system in big companies or in public sector. And we're going to be releasing and opening that up so anybody can pick that up and implement it.
Salim, hey, you know, let's actually, we have a question. Hey, Jacob, oh, Jason Rosenberg has a question. Jason, what is your question? Yeah, it's Jacob Rosenberg, you have a question? Jacob?
Sorry, I was muted. So Warren Buffett talks about a lot about compounding growth and just mathematically, 1 to 10% increase is multiplying something by 1.10, and obviously that's a slight exponential. So do you mind going into the difference between compounding and exponential growth as far as just how you kind of see those two concepts together separately?
Yeah, I mean, both of them are similar in terms of the geometric outcomes. The bigger issue is you could kind of spend time comparing the two. The bigger problem is, and Peter references often, our brains are wired to be local and linear. 100 years ago, anything important happened within a day's walk, right? And we just cannot compute this. Just as an example, in Alibaba's big e-commerce day, they sold $38 billion worth of goods. And I will suggest that we simply cannot get our hands around this. We just can't grok that number. It's just so goddamn big. We just don't, we kind of go, okay, yeah, it was huge, but we don't really understand it. We can't put a scale to it. And I think we need to be trained and get better at understanding that scale, whether it's geometric through a compound interest thing or exponential in that sense.
Salim, I really appreciate you giving us some insight on this. Give us the link. Will and Jennifer will place everything inside our portal to make sure the members know about that. That sounds like an incredible event to participate in. And could we have you on in the future to really explain more on this exponential direction and some of the discoveries that you've been seeing throughout the world?
Happy to do it. I want to leave you with one crazy thing that happened, just so everybody's aware. A year ago, I got called by a political consulting firm, and they said, listen, we've been using your book to advise heads of state. And I'm like, really? That wasn't what it was supposed to be. And he goes, yeah, I'd like to partner with you and bring you into some of these countries. And I'm like, give me an example of a country. And he goes, Thailand, Ghana, Indonesia, South Africa. I'm like, whoa, how many are we talking about here? And he goes, 36. I'm like, so I actually spent most of last year ratifying it. I've been with them to visit 6 heads of state. We now have access, we have a community, we have a tool set, and most importantly, we don't give a damn. So we can really make a massive difference in the world, and so we're going after it.
Did you go back to maybe your home country? I think it's Egypt, and fix them up?
India.
Or India, yeah, India.
Yeah, I'm not sure India is fixable because of the deep, the massive problem that the loss of secularism is causing.
The lack of secularism.
Yeah, because India's 80% Hindu, 20% Muslim, and the constitution is secular. It doesn't officially have a religion.
Do you also feel the caste system actually is affecting it too?
Huge problem. And what the problem that's happened in India is the caste system has these layers of society. And if you're in an untouchable class, which is like half the country, you have no hope. So over the last few hundred years, many of them converted to Islam because they had no hope. Where are you going to go? That's why Pakistan was created. And now they're trying to take away citizenship from the people that have been in the country for thousands of years because they converted into this other religion because they got disenfranchised. So just the insanity of that, and with 1.5 billion people living in close proximity, is insane. It's just nuts. So this is a bad time.
Salim, thank you so much for sharing your knowledge and wisdom with us, and we're excited for your event that's happening.
Awesome. Hopefully
All right.
see some of you there. Take care.